When did you? Tonight. You? Yesterday. So you were kidnapped too? Yeah. Daniela was killed right in front of me. The other Daniel. Me too. Were you taken back to Velocity? Beaten? Amanda helped me escape. Say. I guess this was inevitable, right? The different versions of us would spawn in the box. How many? I know some of them must have been killed, or lost, or ran out of ampules. But some of them, like you and like me, made the right choices. Right choices. Or got lucky. Our paths may have been altered by different doors in different worlds, but eventually they made their way back to this Chicago. Every choice I made in there created a different Jason. Every choice those Jasons made, and those Jasons.
Hey, panelists, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And sorry for the delay in a lot of these episodes, but we are finally back and we are continuing our journey with Dark Matter. But in this particular spoiler for a podcast, but honestly, it can't be too much spoilery for the fact that a lot of people have had enough time to see episodes 7 and 8.
and 9 just dropped, so they probably watched 9 already as well.
Exactly. But we'll do 9 next week. But you'll have this to listen to in the meantime. So if you're listening to this for the first time and you waited all that time, this is fresh and new to you, but it's a spoiler full just to talk about these 2 episodes, 7 and 8 of Dark Matter 2024. Not to be confused with the other series years ago, but we're doing 7 and 8. So episode 7 is entitled In the Fire of Dead Stars, and episode 8 is entitled Jupiter. Episode 7's synopsis that Jason and Amanda visit a breathtaking world to hide the truth from Daniela. Jason 2 takes a desperate vacation.
Takes desperate action. Wait, you said that. You flowed into that weirdly. It's 2 separate statements. Jason and Amanda visit a breathtaking world, period. To hide the truth from Daniela, Jason 2 takes desperate action.
Yeah, but he should take a desperate vacation. I think I imposed my own thoughts of what I need at the moment, which is really a vacation.
Yeah.
And episode 8, its synopsis is panicked and cornered. Jason 2 tells Daniela and Charlie they need to leave town immediately.
That's the least of their worries at this point.
Exactly. But yeah, we're going to probably flow into these episodes, ladies and gentlemen. So bear with us. My thoughts about 7. 7 was interesting, gave us a little light into a few things, mostly about Amanda and her conversations with Jason 1. We get to see her trying to settle down on a place, taking Blair's her suggestion from that world, saying, you're running out of ampules. There's only so many that you could jump to. How are you ever really going to find your original world to go back to at that point? You should find yourself someplace where you need to be to live out your life that you're going to be happy with. And it's going to be the same world, obviously, but it's just a bit different than her original. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, episode 7 was really, really good because episode 7 really closes out Amanda's storyline for us. Gets us moving forward into the next episodes and into the rest of the season. And she finds a world that is really most of us would term a pretty idyllic world, really. I mean, they've got cold fusion because there's that whole cold fusion celebration day that they're having, and it's a world where her version of herself is either, I don't remember is either missing or presumed dead or not. It was weird because she said on one hand she said, well, she's missing, but she has really good credit. And so she was able to get money and she's going to be able to travel to another part of the country and
Mhm.
set up a new life. So I got the impression that the Amanda there, um, it was almost perfectly set up for her to not necessarily take over that Amanda's spot, but at least come in, get some money from that Amanda's whatever holdings, and then create a new life for herself. And obviously she asked Jason to stay with her, and Jason chooses not to, which leads me to one of the biggest revelations I had after we finished recording the last episode we recorded. I went and watched episode 7 again.
Mhm.
And at the end of it, I realized, I started thinking about the fact. I said, wait a minute, he's making the choice to not go with her. That means that there's going to be a Jason out there. There's going to be a universe created with a Jason and Amanda where he did choose to go with her. Because remember,
Hmm.
every choice is made, and that's what we find out in episode 8 when we talk about the multiple Jasons. And so that's what I started thinking before I even watched episode 8. When I started, as I was mulling over episode 7 last week,
Mhm.
I really started thinking about the fact that I was like, wait a minute, there's multiple Jasons, there's multiple versions of the Jason we know as Jason 1
Mhm.
now out there, because every time he and Amanda made a decision, obviously a new timeline, a new universe was created where a different decision was made.
Yeah.
And that's the Jason that remembers, what I'm saying? Like, so it suddenly comes astronomical,
Mhm.
the different choices that are out there and the different versions that could be available. And that's what we find out when we get to 8. We'll talk more about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was the biggest thing for me, the revelation at the end of episode 7, of realizing that, wait a minute, there's multiple versions of who we think of as Jason 1 out there.
Yes.
And I guess that the same counterpoint would be, there's probably multiple versions of Jason 2 out there as well, because he's created, even with the decisions that he's made, he's created different
Yes.
outcomes and different versions and different things. So it boggles the mind. It becomes,
You could go cross-eyed with this, and it all
yeah.
amounts to like the intro of the show. If you look at it, it looks like an Escher painting with
Mhm.
them walking around on a puzzle building, constantly interlocking or in very similar ways. Like you said, there are multiple versions of there's definitely another, and that could be another season unto itself, where we do see Jason take off with that version possibly of Amanda, and then them going on, I hate saying a Doctor Who kind of world where they go into different worlds again to find the right place. Maybe they find other ampules or things of that nature.
Yeah, there's lots of possibilities out there that we could get, that they could decide to go with. They could track all these other Jasons, that we could track another version of Jason that that well, that's in episode 8, but we could season 2 could track another version of Jason 1, take a moment where something else they did diverged, and we have that couple going off, like you said, into kind of Doctor Who kind of situations, and we find out and it all leads back to everybody meeting at this Chicago, at this timeline. Or, well, I guess it wouldn't, because time is still progressing forward. So I
Yeah,
don't know, there's myriad of possibilities they could do. So
there is. And
yeah.
in this episode, I think Jason 2 scares a little bit of the Amanda 1, the therapist.
Yeah, a little bit, I think, because he knows way too much about her, and who she is, and what, and kind of knows more about her than he should. And she's like, "Oh, I need you to leave now, because you obviously know way more about me than you should." And
Yeah.
suddenly the doctor patient uh, relationship has become skewed. So yeah, yeah, that was a little interesting. That, to see if they show us that Amanda again or not, I don't know. We might be done with psychiatrist Amanda
I think
and
so.
Jason too.
Yeah.
At this point.
I think that was probably the last. I think this was like the last that we ever see of Amanda. I don't know why, but It's my feeling.
You know, they've closed out her story on in multiple timelines. They've closed out her story.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't see us. I don't really see us going any more forward with, but maybe you never know. I'm not digging my heels on anything with this show anymore. So, you know, because anything could happen.
Yeah, well, anything could happen. Like Jason 1 looking at a mask and thinking and pondering what he might do, like Jason 2 did with him. So he could have been another Jason 2 at one point, but he doesn't. He kind of walks away.
I did like the whole thing at the end when he tries to buy a firearm and he's not able to. Because he doesn't have all the proper paperwork and stuff, because Illinois has Illinois and Chicago in particular has some really specific gun laws. And so I was glad that the show didn't kind of go that route of having him purchase a gun. But yeah, so that was an interesting, the only thing that I took, I came away from that final scene there, and I was kind of like, wait a minute, why are they wearing the same clothes? And why does he just happen to have the same backpack?
Yes.
Because that kind of made me go, wait a minute. Okay. I guess they think alike, and yes, he does have the same clothes. And so there's a possibility that they could have, but right at the coincidence of them to be dressed exactly the same at exactly that same time when they walk into the same store is a little bit, I mean, come on, that was not necessary for the show, unless the way they filmed it was they didn't even change his clothes, you know, like if they filmed it right at the same time. I don't know. It just seemed weird to me that they would be dressed exactly the same. You know,
something for episode 8 we'll get into it is something like, because you see identical people dressed identically, so they look like twins. So
they're close, but not exactly. I mean, there's some that are closer than others, but yeah, I get you. I guess we can let that go to a certain extent, because they do think alike. They would dress alike, and like in episode 8, he does say something to Daniela about when he's asking her where to meet. You know, he says, well, you've got to pick it because he'll think of where I would think of. So, okay, I'll give him a little bit of grace on the clothing of them, of wearing very similar type clothing, but it just was a little bit.
One thing I found funny is like Jason 2 finding another Ryan to plant him in.
Wasn't
Ryan's
that interesting
apartment.
too? And unfortunately, and he finds, but he, you know, and I realized this after I watched it, particularly episode 7 the second time. He had to find a Ryan that had no clue who Jason was. He had to, and it probably took him a few tries. Correct. He had to find a Ryan that diverged before they met in college. So that's why it's so important that when Ryan tells him that story about how he got that DUI, you know, before college, or the one Ryan tells him the story about, you know, the Ryan 2 tells the story about how he got that DUI, and that's what derailed him going to college, or he almost got it, or the other guy got a DUI, and that's what it. And so he had to find a Ryan that didn't go to college with Jason. And correct. That's what he did when he found Ryan the mechanic. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And especially at the end, it does boggle the mind a little bit that he's able to kidnap this guy, get him drunk enough to get him into the box, bring him home, cut his hair, wash him, and then dress him in Ryan 1's clothing, and dump him, you know, wherever he dumped him, so that he could be found again. Yeah. You know, and then it becomes that he fell off the wagon, you know. So I thought it was really clever what he did, but it took you. I realized, I wonder how much ampules that took, and how many tries that took for him to find the perfect Ryan.
Yeah, you know, also, my feeling about the whole ampule thing, find another planet or another dimension, not planet, sorry, and just find a section where that particular Jason made like 100, and then take them with you and steal and just rob them.
Yeah, well, no, and he's got that, because if you remember in episode 8, and we'll get I think we're pretty close to moving to episode 8 here. When he gets to when Daniela goes into the storage unit in episode 8, she finds a whole nother box of ampules in there in the storage unit. So there's no telling how many ampules Jason 2 has. So he can do this as much as I wouldn't be surprised, because like we talked about, he's been, he was missing from his universe for a year. So he's been planning this for a like we talked about earlier in recording. He's been planning this for a long time and getting ready for this. So I think he's had plenty of ampules at this point to where he can do whatever he wants. Now, of course, he didn't anticipate that he was going to seal up the box. Of course, he didn't anticipate he was going to seal up the box and then one episode later break open the box. But he ends up not having a choice. But yeah, so it's episode 7. That's an interesting, like I said, the way it ended with us realizing that Jason 1 has made it back to his universe, as near as we can tell, his universe, or at least close enough to his universe that it's where he's going to settle on, because it's his last ampule, know. And it's interesting that Amanda makes that statement to where when she leaves him, she says, maybe it's leaving me. Maybe it's me leaving you that's going to give you the push to be. Maybe I'm what. Yeah. Maybe I've what's been holding you back from getting to your universe, because you've been with me. You haven't been able to take that final step. And we get an indication of that. And this is going into episode 8 when he meets I'm going to call him Knit Cap Jason. When he meets Knit Cap Jason in the bar, and he lifts up his cap, and he's got that scar on his head, and he says, well, I lost her. And he says, well, when did you get here? He says, yesterday. And he says, well, because I lost her. And you realize that this Jason, again, the same thing had to happen. They had to lose Amanda
in order to get there
in whatever fashion they lost her in. But that was the final step to get them to their quote unquote universe, because and again, I'm getting into. Are you good with that?
I'm good with that.
I just found episode 8, or
I'm good with that. We're pretty much we were at the end anyway. My feeling was about the episode is that he found it so soon. They could have dragged this out for seasons of different. If
they could have, and another one going back to episode 7, but I'm glad they didn't, because going back to episode 7, he found that world, and you mentioned the world where he sees the mask is also the world where he finds that Max is alive.
Yes.
That he finds out that, hey, there's a world out there where our other son, where both twins survived, both Charlie and Max are alive. And suddenly that's when I think that's for Jason 1, that's where he got another, not the final push, because I still think losing Amanda was what gave him the real push to get to his world. But seeing that there are other worlds out there that are peaceful for him, but realizing he got to see, he had that moment of where I think he thought about, I could take this Jason's life.
Yeah, exactly.
I could take this Jason's life, but then he realized that, wait a minute, that's exactly what he did to me. He took my life. I'm not going to take someone else's life. And so that's when like I said, I think again, and maybe that's even more so than losing Amanda, now that I say it out loud, maybe having that realization of, I'm not going to take someone else's life. I'm not going to take some other Jason's life. That was really the final push that got himself centered to where he get back to his real universe.
Yeah, his consciousness didn't get skewed, or his morality, or how he feels about everything that's happened to him. He doesn't want to impose that onto somebody else, which is smart.
Right. So getting into, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask if you had any quotes, but
not from episode 7. I think I said the few that I could remember from episode 7, and
okay, well, we could go right into 8.
And I think it's important to note what Knit Cap, or what Scar Jason, whatever we want to call him, says is he because they both sat down in that booth, and he says, we're both referring to this guy, the guy who's here, as Jason 2. That means we all think of ourselves as Jason 1. And that means so the Jason 1, the Jason that we knew from the first episode.
Correct.
Okay. That's the Jason that has skewed off to probably the majority of the ones that we're going to see. And
Yes.
in my watch tonight, so the count in my head now, at least, and I could be off. We've got Jason 1, we've got Jason 2,
Mhm.
we've got unconscious Jason in the garage,
Yes.
we've got uh, Hotel Jason, who may also be baseball cap Jason. Maybe might be the same guy. So that's 4.
Yeah.
But then we've got knit cap Jason with the scar. That's 5. Okay. And then we've got car thief Jason, the guy who picks up Danielle and has got the screwdriver in the
Yep.
the ignition of the car. So
Yeah,
that's
which
at
you
least
notices.
6. Yeah, that's at least 6 Jasons, 4 of which are skewed off from the Jason who we think of as Jason 1. So
Yeah.
that's at least 6 Jasons that made it all back to this universe.
I think there's
You know.
more.
Oh, I'm sure there's got to be more. I'm sure there is, but it's just at my count. That's 6 that I know of for sure. Well,
Wow.
and let me take that back. We don't know if the guy that Jason 2 beats up in the bathroom at the library, he had a knit cap on, but we don't necessarily know that that's bar knit cap scar Jason.
Yeah.
Because remember, that guy said he had a gun, and I never saw a gun from that guy.
Mm.
What didn't he told him that in the bar, right? He says, you weren't able to get a gun, I was able to get a gun.
Yes.
Or
he does.
yeah. And so that could be, there could be another one. So that could be up to 7, probably more Jasons running around. Who knows? Next season may just be the Jason hunt of, let's try to make sure we get all the Jasons,
We're hunting Jason. It's
Yeah.
a reverse Friday the 13th, people.
all
No,
the
I'm just kidding.
Jasons that are in this universe, because they think it's their universe because it's so close to their universe.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought up the whole wearing wool caps and everything, and I had to admit to Steve, because we haven't recorded in a while. I only got to watch this a couple of times, but didn't go into thorough details. But I used a specific, it was like a tvfanatic.com, and they do their kind of reviews, but I like to refresh my thoughts and everything. But the way they put it in here, and I have to use it, it says Jason 1's wearing wool caps as they appear on all the other Jasons. They could be the red shirts of the series. And I like that. It's a good evaluation of it, because they could be dead at the end.
That's fair. Although car thief Jason didn't have a wool cap on.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
but
then there's we were talking about before about how there's multiple of them, but yeah, they have that like conversation in the bar about the gun. They have this like this whole interaction of like where they've been, who they talked to, who they were with, how they get there, and at the tap, and Matt the bartender, who knows Jason there, sees 2 Jasons sitting there and having a drink together.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't acknowledge. And like when he sees the one Jason get up who's wearing a different coat and wearing a knit cap walk out of the bar, he doesn't even acknowledge that he sees him walk out of the bar.
Yeah,
because he walks right past him. He's cleaning glasses at the bar when Jason walks past him.
Yeah.
Now he did. I mean, he does say there is a moment there. So the assumption I got from that scene was that Knitcap Jason ordered a beer and then went and sat down in the booth, and was sitting down in the booth for however long. And then Jason 1, our Jason, the Jason that we know of as Jason 1, comes in. Now, granted, he's wearing different clothes, which I can, most people I don't think are going to be as observational to notice that this guy's wearing different clothes. But he orders another drink, and the bartender says, "What, so soon?" And he's like, yeah. And he's like, "Well, you want the same thing? Sure, give me the same thing." And so he gives him a beer, and he walks, and then that's when he turns around, when Jason 1 turns around and sees Knitcap Jason sitting in the booth. So I'm assuming the booth is far enough away from the bartender area that he didn't see
Yeah, the
that
guy
Jason.
sneak in.
That Jason. Well, no, that's that guy was there. That he was already there, sitting down in the booth. And so, but it's still when he leaves, like when he gets it to leave, he walks right past the bartender, and the bartender doesn't say anything about, "Hey, bye, Jason." And then what? A few seconds later, or maybe a minute, less than a minute, definitely later, Jason 1 gets up and walks out. Also, you would think he would go, "Hey." You
just left.
Just give us a brief shot of him going, waving like a second time and kind of going
deja vu,
but yeah, they didn't do that for us. A little bit, but it's a bar. It didn't look, it was super busy, but it might've been busy, just busy enough that I can give the bartender a little bit of grace and go, okay, he didn't realize what was going on there, but still, I mean, the gun counter lady, I totally get, because she's probably, part of her job is she needs to be observational, and she needs to pay attention to people when they're in there and what they look like, because if they do some shenanigans or something happens wrong, she's going to be the one who's liable.
True.
So the fact that she goes, well, do you have a twin brother? Because you just had somebody who looked just like you was in here. So I get that, but I can give the bartender a little bit of grace on that, but still, I loved his little ploy with the cigar, and I didn't figure out what he was doing until she comes into the police station, or until he gets arrested. It might have been when he got arrested.
Yes.
When he got arrested, that might have been the moment when I realized that, he's purposely getting himself arrested so that he'll be in one place and the other Jason will be in another place.
Yep.
And Daniela will have to come to the police station for him, and he'll be able to, because she's already talked to Mechanic Ryan. And so she showed him the picture of Jason on her phone, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's the guy who was buying me shots." And so suddenly she's looking at this, and even though, I don't know how much Jason has told her about his quantum theory over the years, was there at any point in the relationship, did he mention the fact that he was playing around with a theory about multiple universes? I don't know. With this Daniela, we know with the other Daniela, he definitely did, because she had it ingrained in her memory.
Yeah.
And that's why she made the art exhibit that she made, and that's why ultimately she ends up getting shot. But this Daniela, I don't know if she would default to the multiple universe theory, but she still asks him, well, is this the guy who was buying you shots? And he's like, oh yeah, that's the guy who was buying me shots. And so now her brain has got to be turning over in her head going, okay, I don't understand what this is, and unless you're in a world that has comic books, that has unless you're a person who is aware of the multi-universe theory, which, we are, but I would say, like, the population of people that I go to church with, probably half of them know what a multiverse is.
Exactly.
And the other half I'd be like trying to explain this concept to them, and they would just look at me like, what?
You're losing your mind.
That's science fiction stuff. Yeah.
And it's not necessarily just comics. It's in science fiction as well.
Right.
But
it's in science fiction all over the place, but it's if you're not in that kind of realm
mindset,
you're not going to pick up on it. So there's been no indication that Daniela Prime, whatever we're calling her, has that kind of mindset. But, she's definitely getting there, because when she says, what does she ask him? She goes, oh, you really think you're a mechanic? And he goes, I am a mechanic.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she says, oh, it's Daniela. And he goes, Honda Civic, Daniela? And she's like, wait, am I one of your customers? And he's like, yeah, you wear out your brake pads like you're whatever, and she's like, oh, okay. He's like, Loyalty Motors, you don't remember? Like, he's dealing with her like she's a customer of his.
Correct. Yeah.
And she's dealing with him like he's a friend of hers, and he doesn't get it. So, I think she's starting to understand what that is and what's going on there. And so obviously then she's more open to it when Jason does, give her, when he breaks the news to her that, hey, the man you've been living with for the last however many weeks or however months or however long it's been. I don't think we have a really firm grip on the timeline. It can't be very long. I would say weeks.
Yes.
That it's been, because Charlie's still in school.
Yes.
So it's not like he's out of school. So we don't, so it's probably a fairly short timeline. But when he tells her, hey, the guy you've been living with for the last whatever 3 weeks or whatever is not your husband. It's not the Jason you know. He took my life, and she's able to kind of believe that because she saw this Ryan. And but yeah, I love the whole we've got to have a safe word, and it's got to be something you pick. So, and it's got to be a place you pick, and that the whole Jupiter thing was great. Yeah. So yeah.
And also the interaction with Charlie and I think it was Jason too. I get confused, but they had to go to college because he he goes, you forgot. Oh, forget it. And then he goes, no. I'm going to show you. He gets him in. And, they didn't have like a reservation or whatever it was to get in to go see. And they were able to sneak in. They didn't have the
visitor pass, but they have to, which is kind of, again, it's another one of those things that why does the show us something and then not explain how somebody else is able to do it? Like he and Charlie have this whole long conversation with the security guard about, oh, you don't have a card. You can't buzz in. Okay, well, I can't buzz you in. Do you have a visitor pass? Well, no, we forgot to get a visitor pass. Okay, well, this time I'll let you in, but you better get a visitor pass next time. And then he lets him through. And then 5 minutes later,
he comes around.
Knitcap Jason is in the library.
Yeah.
And I'm going, how did he get in the library?
Exactly.
I'm like, was he able to bluff his way past the guard as well? Hey, I'm alumni. I'm just visiting. Or did he steal somebody's pass? Did he sneak in?
Well, there's a lot of deaths in this, obviously, of a Jason. So
I'm just saying, it's one of those things that why show us the interaction with a security guard if you're not going to explain to us how the other Jason got in to the light. It's sloppy storytelling.
It is
to me. And obviously as podcasters, we're probably looking at it deeper than anybody else is. But I just, it's one of those things. It's the little things like the money thing that we've been talking about the last couple of episodes. The same thing. Knitcap Jason takes money out of his pocket and says, oh, I'm paying for these drinks, and then walks away. And I'm like, and when Daniela's in the storage unit, she's looking at different types of money. So we know Jason too has all these different types of money that he's got. So, but how are the other Jasons? It's one of those, it's a little weird. It's a little nitpicky thing.
Yeah.
That is, it's not huge to the story, but it's just huge enough that I want to go. And what's going to happen when somebody finds, did he just beat that Jason unconscious? Did he kill him?
I think he killed him, but which leads me to think too. It's like, hold on, especially when you have one Jason in the jail and Danielle's picking him up. If there's multiple identical dead bodies popping up around Chicago, don't you think?
Yeah.
That would be hard to explain when
I don't think somebody's alive. I don't think he killed the one that's in his garage, because they do make a point of showing him with the duct tape.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think he killed the one that's in his garage. The guy in the bathroom, though, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he killed him or just left him unconscious in the bathroom. So if he left him unconscious in the bathroom, then okay, there's still a chance that he's going to wake up and just walk out on his own. Okay, got it. He still might be discovered depending on how long he's there, whatever. I don't know. Episode 9 might reveal more of that. I will note that I haven't watched episode 9 yet, but I will note that I saw on the description on Apple TV, it does say season finale.
Yes, not series finale.
Not series finale. So that gives me hope that they're at least thinking about a second season. Whether they've announced one or not yet, I don't know. We'll see what the numbers bear out. But it's this final episode is going to be something. It's going to be a doozy, and I'm going to be very happy to watch it pretty quickly after we get off recording here. So
cool. Do you have any quotes on this particular episode or no?
No. Again, I've this has been panelers. I apologize be so cloudy. It has been a week for me. I'm not going to go into details. Life happens, that. And so I don't have any quotes, not past the ones that I've already kind of said. And
yeah. I only have 2, and I think they're pretty interesting. Charlie going to Jason 2, and that's all I have is two of them from him to Jason 2. First one is Charlie saying, "Hey, how about a late night deep dish?" And then, of course, because they're in Chicago, he goes, and Jason 2 is like, "Yeah, yeah, you speak my language." Meaning, okay, they really do have regular good deep dish pizza to Chicago and his.
For those who don't think
dimension.
deep dish, that Chicago, those that don't believe Chicago style is a pizza, on you. Chicago style is a pizza. I don't care.
It is. It is. The next one would be Charlie saying, "Regretting is easy. There's nothing you can actually do about it." And then Jason 2 stating, "Maybe you'll understand when you get older," meaning that he's already trying to change what he regretted.
That's an interesting conversation because Charlie is really starting to key in on this theory of life changing on one little decision, and you can't dwell on this one decision you made that changed your entire life, because just you can't dwell on it, because your entire life is you. And I've said this before for my own life: you are who you are because of the choices you've made. And if you made different choices, you'd be a different person. Regardless of what these shows, regardless of how close you would be to the person you are, you still, the choices I've made in my life make me who I am today. And if I made different choices, I would be a different person.
Yes.
And that's, Jason, all the Jasons are living that in one aspect, particularly Jason 1 and Jason 2 have seen that. Jason 2 saw what that decision to not be with Daniela when she revealed that she was pregnant meant to this life in that universe, and Jason 1 got to see how that played out in a different universe. This is how my life could have gone if I hadn't been with Daniela. This is the person I would have become. This mean-spirited, full of anger person. So who's dangerous, I give Daniela a lot of credit for realizing, for all the things that have culminated through this season with Jason 2, of realizing that this other Jason is the Jason that she spent the last 15 years with, so I like that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, before we close out and go to where people could hear us and where you could send in some sort of feedback, we did get a little bit of feedback, which I'm glad that we did.
Yeah.
And we got some from our friend Anwen. I'm going to play that now.
Okay.
Hi, Mark and Steve. It's Anwen calling from New Zealand. Just wanted to give some feedback on Dark Matter. Thank you so much for the podcast. I'm really glad you guys are covering it. I've been listening along. I was super excited to see that this show was being made, because I read the book about this time last year and I read it in a day and a half. I could not put it down. It was so gripping. And right after finishing it, I read that the TV series was coming out, and I was so excited. Really enjoying it. I do think that they are keeping really quite closely to the feel and the kind of look that I imagined when I read the book. I think they've changed a few bits and pieces with the storyline, which they probably had to for a bit more dramatic effect, or maybe some more variety with the characters. In the book, it really just focuses on the main sort of three characters and not a huge depth with the other ones. But I think it makes for a really good show. The acting is amazing. The pacing is pretty good. I'm super excited to finally see that he got back to his proper world. I was starting to get a bit antsy in the last episode or two, thinking, come on, we've got to get to the next part of the story. So I can't wait to see what they're going to do with this next part, and if it varies very much from the book. I do feel like it's varied a little bit already, just in terms of what Jason 2 is feeling and planning. Anyway, thank you so much for the podcast. I will be listening along, and have a great day. Bye.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you, Anwen. I got to meet Anwen on my big world cruise that I took, or not world, my Australia, New Zealand cruise that I took a few months back. So I got to meet Anwen there in New Zealand, and she is just lovely to meet. And that's great to hear. that she read the book and that it stayed pretty close to the book, and that she likes what we're doing and talking about it. So I appreciate hearing that. That's great. Thank you so much, Emily. And I look forward to seeing. Let us know what your thoughts are on the finale. Let us know on what your thoughts are if they do set it up for a season 2, and if we're gonna get a season 2, or if there's more in the book. I don't know. Maybe there's more in the book that it goes past where we're at here. I don't know.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and it's great that you sent in feedback. Thank you, Anne. When it was so, it was funny too because I got this mixed up. I thought she was sending something for another podcast, and I was like, oh, because I believe Jason from Podcastica sent it to me.
Oh wow,
Because I guess she didn't realize how to send it. I thought it was funny. I was like, wait,
that's great. No worries at all. No
it worked
worries.
out.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you, Anwin. Glad we will definitely let you guys know when we're doing episode 9. So as soon as I finish with this edit, obviously there'll be a post about when we'll be recording. It might not be right away, so you have time. But
Should have some
you have
time.
other things to look forward to that we'll be covering as well. You know, Snowpiercer's coming out in July. You got the boys are back in town, but we'll be doing that like as a chunk and then going into briefing over because a lot of things collided. You got Deadpool, Wolverine, you got a whole bunch of things for us for panels to pixels.
There's a lot of stuff coming up, and Snowpiercer's a little ways down the road too, I think.
Yeah, but we have some stuff coming up.
Yeah.
But with that, we could go into some podcast recommendations. So Steve, do you have any?
I have the same thing I had last time, which is Strange Indeed, but also I want to encourage people. The Cast of Us, which is a Podcastica podcast, they are doing a rewatch of The Walking Dead. I am following along with them as that. I missed this week's episode for my live Steve, but I'll be back on track with them next week. They have just started season 3. They're into the first couple of episodes of season 3 of The Walking Dead. So if you're interested in that, please check out Podcastica and The Cast of Us with a rewatch of The Walking Dead.
Cool. Awesome. A lot of people are, that I've been listening to has been on Podcastica. So obviously I've been involved with doing stuff collaboratively with Podcastica and doing a podcast on Podcastica. So just go to podcastica.com, everybody. I can't explain anymore, but Welcome to the Apocalypse is back. So I don't know if it's the last episode for the season or
I think so. Yeah, the season finale. I don't know how long of a break they're going to take, but yeah, this was the season finale for Welcome to the Apocalypse this week.
So I highly recommend that one. So, where can listeners hear us in other places, Steve?
Well, as I mentioned, you can hear me right here on Panels to Pixels podcast. I will be here as often as I can be with my good friend and co-host there, Mark. And you can hear my voicemails on various other podcasts that I send voicemails to.
Awesome. And as always, you could hear me here as well. But you could also hear me on Adrenaline Cinema podcast, where right now it's a collaborative podcast between Adrenaline Cinema podcast and Podcastica as we cover Interview with a Vampire. Now we're recording this on Friday, June 28th. That's before the season finale of season 2 of Interview with a Vampire, which we're covering for that particular collaborative podcast. So if you guys are really into Anne Rice and all that stuff, check it out. It's Danny Espinolda and Lyra, Willie Swank, and myself. And we had Danny's friend Billy on and a listener, Colin, who is Rebecca Fenner. And she's going to be back with us for the season finale episode recording too, because Lyra might not be able to be able to join us. So, but check that out. Adrenaline Cinema podcast. We'll go back to regular formatting after that. I got movies underway that I want to cover, like Bloodsport, get back to the original idea of action, adventure, suspense, all that cool stuff. You could hear me there. You could also hear me on Fantasy Picks Movie Edition. So look forward to a rebrand / what to look forward to when we come back with that. So Rob, Frank, Adam, and myself will be back, and it's Rob's show. So he's going to figure out what he wants to do, change it all around, give it a new name possibly, and then we'll keep you guys apprised of what's going on. So there's that. But if you would like to send any feedback, just like Anwen did, all you have to do is, send us an email. You could just send it to panelstopixels1@gmail.com. Panels spelled out, 2 is spelled out TO, pixels and the number 1@gmail.com. And you can just type out your thoughts there and do that. Or you could just record yourself. We all have these cool nifty devices. Record yourself and send it as an attachment on an email, and I could play it. That's how Anwen had done it. So you could do that and send it to us directly. So that would be great. We can be found on Instagram at Panels to Pixels Podcast, as well as Facebook. And so all you have to do is facebook.com/Panels to Pixels. And then you'll see sometimes I'll post some things of what we're covering that next episode. So you see the image, static image, and what we're covering, and just leave your comments in the comments below. Or you could just do Facebook Messenger. I've gotten that before as well. So we could also be found on YouTube. That's another way to be heard as well. All you have to do is search Panels to Pixels Podcast, subscribe, ring the bell, and get notified when episodes come up. Where we can be found on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please, if you could do us a great favor, give us a 5-star review. Also, if you could actually comment in the ratings, it'd be awesome too, because I like when I get to read everything. A 5-star review is great, but I like to know exactly what people in detail, if there's something that you want us to change, or if you have a little bit of a critique, it'd be great. Just let us know. We have only been doing this for almost 9 years.
It has been a while.
But for that wraps up our coverage of Dark Matter Season 1, Episodes 7 and 8. We will be back next week for Episode 9, which is entitled
Entanglement.
So, yep. Check that out. We'll let you know when that comes out. But other than that, that is our podcast. I just want to thank everyone for listening. I'm Mark.
I'm Steve.
Same podcast, different panel, different pixel. This was Panels to Pixels Podcast. And we'll see you on the next panel. Good night.
Good night.